Welcome. I'm Una Cooper. I'm the Communications Manager for the City of Bowie. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. And I thank you for coming this evening. I just want to start with a few logistics. You've probably been here more than once before, but just in case you haven't, restrooms are down the hall. At the cross halls, you make a left, and they're on the right-hand side by the water fountain. In the event of an emergency, you could go out the way you came, or you could use either of these doors to exit the building. If you haven't already done so, please leave us your contact information on one of the sign-in sheets. That doesn't commit you to anything. It's just if you ask a question, we want to be able to follow up with you. I don't care what it is, if it's a phone number or email address, however you want to be contacted. If you want to be contacted, then please leave us your information. This meeting is being recorded. So when it's time, we're going to ask you to come to the microphone. If you cannot get up to the microphone and you need to have a microphone brought to you, we can do that. Just raise your hand and let me know about that. The video will be available next week. It takes us a couple days to edit it. It will run on the government channel, which is channel 10 for Verizon and 71 and 996 for Comcast. It also will be available on our website, which is www.cityofbowie.org. And if you do /view meetings, then it will get you right to the page where all of our videos are. And that's also where you could watch our council meetings as well. And YouTube as well, thank you. Has closed captioning for those that would like to have that. Welcome, Mayor. After a few brief opening remarks, we're going to be listening to you this evening. We won't be responding to everything you say. In fact, we'll respond very little. If there's something pressing that the council members feel like they need to share with you, they may. But in order to give all of you that want the opportunity to speak tonight, we're going to do more listening than talking. We want to hear about your goals, your ideas. What do you like about Bowie? Where do you think we should be spending the money? The comments, and we've heard from over 300 people. We've had 3 listening sessions. We're getting emails every single day. You also have the ability to text a question in tonight. If you do that, we will try to read them during the session as well. And that number is up there on the boards on either side. After the meeting, if you have further comments or something occurs to you, you can send it to publicinfo@cityofbowie.org. And all of those emails are being forwarded to the council members and to the city manager and assistant city manager. We're also compiling all of the questions and comments that we're hearing. And they're great big spreadsheets, multi-pages, and each comment or subject area is being assigned to the staff person that is responsible for that. The police chief's standing in the back of the room, so he's an easy target for me to recognize him and say if it's about crime or speeding, then Chief Neske is going to get that comment to respond to or act on or investigate, whatever the case may be. There's been some common themes that have come up as we've gone through this. Things like speeding, crime prevention, overdevelopment, bringing and keeping good retailers to Bowie, litter, the public schools, and streetlight repair. So for those items, there's still more to be done, clearly, but we have a web page now. It's cityofbowie.org/listening. You can check it out, and on that page, we have some basic information about each of those subject areas. We also have a running list of all the topics that have been brought up at each of these sessions. So there you'll find how to report litter on a state road or something. There's a link to a form there. Or why sometimes it'll take a couple weeks to get a street light repaired if there's an underground cable fault and we have to bring BGE in. Those are the kind of things there. It's just basic information we want to share. We'll also be following up with you, but this way we're getting you information. We're trying to be responsive as quickly as we can because it's going to take us a while to get through these these items. The other thing that's come up loud and clear is just how much the people who live here like their town. People, there may be problems with it, but just like a family, good and bad, you love it, you want it to be the best it can be, and that's why we're all here tonight. And people talk about preserving the way of life that we have here for themselves and for future generations, so that's fantastic. But don't let that deter you from making the comments just because it's one of the things that I already mentioned. The more people that talk about something, the more it reinforces to us what an issue it is for people. With that, I'd like to start introducing the council members who are here. We are, one council member I know will not be here, and that is council member for District 4, Roxy Ndebumadu. She is traveling out of the country at the moment and sends her regrets. With that, Mayor Adams.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My apologies for rolling in a couple of minutes late, but I see why now. I had to take the last parking spot all the way by the field, but that's a good thing to know. First and foremost, I do want to thank you for being here. As many of you know, when campaigning, as I was rolling around the streets and knocking on doors, one of the things I promised is that the first thing we would do when I got in office as mayor and the new city council agreed is that I wanted to hold listening sessions, that I wanted to make sure that we heard your voices. But the thing about that, the only way that could happen is if you showed up and talked to us. And we have had a tremendous turnout of the citizens, and I think you should give all of yourselves an applaud right now. You really should. Now, what that showed us is that you truly do care about your city and that you want to make sure we hear and we understand what you want. Because the agendas we put forth, the strategic planning we put forth has to be what you want. That's what true government is about. That's what representative leadership is about. And so I want to thank you for taking the time out to be here tonight, to be able to share with us. As Una pointed out, we're compiling all that information. And what's wonderful is that we know that the city isn't perfect, but we're learning more, we're understanding more. The chief and others have been able to address some issues immediately that come up. So we need your voices, and we hope to continue to hear that. Now, one other small note I will make is that there are many, and I've had a few calls about concerns about the virus. And let's be very candid about that. One of the things I did last Monday at our city council meeting was I asked our city manager what our plan was. And I asked him to go forth and put together what our plan is for spreading of a virus or pandemic, that we in the city have our own plan as well, that we know what we're going to do. Now, all of us hope that it never comes to that. But we've got to be proactive. And that's who we are for you. We want to maintain that. We want to make sure that we encourage your safety, but more importantly, that we provide the leadership to try and make sure that happens. So with that, again, we're going to sit back and listen to you and hear what you have to say. But again, one more time, thank you so much for coming out. We've had this is the fourth and final session, and we've really been able to hear your voices. So again, thank you so very much.
Okay, before we go on with the introductions, I wanted to just add about the coronavirus. We have a page now on our website that has some basic information about it. We also put out a video today. It's just a couple of minutes, but it's just facts. There's a lot of hype out there. We want to keep it to the facts. And Lee and Stephanie, you want to stand up and just let everybody see who you are? This is our emergency manager. And another person that works with him, Stephanie Robinson and Lee Cornwell. They're the frontline people for the city on this.
Thank you.
And we'll be following the state and Prince George's County Health Department and anything to do with coronavirus. But the website again is cityofbowie.org/corona.
And Lee has assured me that he personally is going to defeat the coronavirus. So thank you, Lee. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room this evening, and I see a lot of new ones as well, which is really awesome. I think Una and the mayor covered pretty much everything. We're grateful that you're here. I did want to say one quick word of thanks to my colleagues who are here tonight and all of them. It's only been 3 months that we've been sworn in, and honestly, it feels like it's been about 3 years, in the best way possible. We have, in the last 3 months, accomplished quite a bit. We've had a lot of thrown our way, whether it's the racetrack or any of the new development projects that have come down the pike. This council takes the time to deal with issues. We've had more meetings, I think, in 3 months than I've been to in the last 4 years. We've had every session we've needed to have to get briefed on things, go over things, make decisions. And so I'm really grateful to them. This group has been in Annapolis a lot in the last 3 months, advocating on our behalf to our state lawmakers who write most of the big checks that we're concerned about and make a lot of the big decisions that we're concerned about. And this whole team has just been really, really, really tremendous as hardworking, dedicated advocates for this city. And as a lifelong resident and as someone who's been on the city council for the last 4 years, I am really grateful to them for that. So thank you all for being here, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts tonight on what we can further do to make this community better.
What's your name?
I'm Michael Lestab. I'm the council member for District 1.
I'm actually going to start with my name this time before I get My name is Adrian Buwafo. I'm the councilman for District 3 and the mayor pro tem here in the city of Bowie. I think my colleague said it best. I mean, this has been a tremendous ride. It's been 3 years in my opinion. I feel like my hair is going, but we're working hard for you guys, right? This is the final listening session, but this shouldn't be the last time we hear from you, right? At the end of this session, you guys should get our contact information. We should continue to stay in touch and advocate in the best way we can for you guys. So thank you guys, and we're ready to hear from you guys after this guy introduces himself.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am Dufour Wolfley, for those that don't know me. I am your District 2 Council representative. I know we have people from across the city here, but I know we have a preponderance of folks here at District 2. So thank you very much for coming out this evening. Frankly, it's been very encouraging. I remember the first time I ran for office, it was difficult to get any sense of engagement from the community, and this has been a remarkable sea change. We've really had a lot of engaged folks, and this is fantastic and actually makes it easier for us as a city council. I want to extend also my thanks to my colleagues on the council. The last council I was on, it was nowhere near as, shall we say, we didn't have as much opportunity for this type of interaction. And my colleagues presently are very interested in hearing from the community. We're working very hard to try and meet the needs of the community as the community sees them to be. And that's very important for us, and I think it's wonderful that you're here. I want to do a quick thank you in advance well, actually, tell you what, if I could, please, could I have city staff, everybody that's here on city staff, kind of stand up, or if you're, that would be great. I want to, this is our city staff. And over here as well, this is typical of the response I get when I go door knocking. We are blessed with a fantastic group of people that work at this city. As was mentioned earlier, we get a lot of quick turnaround on things, but they're here listening. In some cases, they may be able to answer a quick question right away, but they're committed to this process as well, and we're absolutely delighted and couldn't do it without them. So thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll let it go from there. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councilwoman at Large Ingrid Harrison should be joining us later on. And just mentioned your name. Welcome. Do you want to? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, we have a room full of people, so we want to hear from all of you. So if you can, keep your comments to around 2 minutes, and we'll go from there. We're going to start with Sue Rivera. She is involved. You can go right there, Sue.
I want to face people.
Well, actually, why don't you use the
What am I doing?
can do that.
This is fine. I'm good.
okay. Anyway, when you come up, say your name, keep it to about 2 minutes, and if you'd also tell us what part of the city you live in, that would be helpful. Okay, Sue, let's kick it off.
I'm Sue Rivera. I live on Manville Lane in Bowie. And right now, I'm going to turn around. I think you can hear me.
No, please, no, be on the microphone because we're recording.
Forget it. Anyway, Una and I and Ingrid actually are working together with our staffs to work to make sure that the census is completed. You all know this is the year of the census, right? Yes. Does anybody know when the first census happened? No.
Wasn't it when Aaron had everyone go to their day
How about 1790?
Good answer.
So every 10 years since 1790, this has happened. It's happening again, and we want to make sure that every single person completes this. You will receive information in the mail initially alerting you, but March 12th will be the first opportunity for you to complete the forms. You can do it online. If you can't do it online, and you'll get more information about this, there are hubs in the city where we will man and woman it, so we can help you if you have any trouble. If you're interested, I have the questions right here. They're all statistical in nature. They don't care what color your hair is. They don't care, what you like for dinner. They just want to find out how many people live in the households. It's not about even families. If you live in a house that has apartments in it, it's every person that lives under that roof. So you will see all that. Keep in mind that this is statistical, that it's not going to pry into anything. It's not, if you are referenced, you're referenced as a number, not because of something else. What the impact of this is that each one of us over 10 years is worth about a little more than $18,000 that is distributed to our services in our county. So in 2010, Prince George's County was very undercounted. It was very underrepresented. We lost millions and millions of dollars because of that. So it's imperative that you do that. There are flyers out there in the hall, so please pick them up, and I'm happy to answer questions, and Ingrid and Una and I can do that as well. And we'll do more at council meetings. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Kramer, you want to speak?
Let's get a mic too.
We'll get you a mic.
I would like to have yeah, that's right. My name is Bill Kramer. I've been here forever. Okay. I came in 1962, so I'm pushing my 58th year in Bowie now, and I have this to attest to it. I think I earned this generously, and it's like a pal. I can't do without it. And no substitutes for a dog. Okay. I have a pet peeve that I have nurtured for quite a long time, and it has to do with traffic, so-called traffic calming, otherwise known as speed humps. Now, I understand that the people of Bowie are pretty divided on this issue. I suppose probably half like them, half don't. And inasmuch as we are apparently living in the era of traffic calming, I'm not going to dwell on that. We have to make our peace with it. As you probably have gathered by now, I don't care for it. I don't like speed humps. But now that we have them, I think maybe there are a few things we should think about. One is placement. I have noticed, and how can you not notice if you get around as much as most of us do, that speed humps tend to be put in some rather strange places. One case in point is clearly the entrance to the parking lot of this building here, right outside. As you go down this lower end out of the parking lot, you see a speed hump. Now, the funny thing about that, at least for me personally, I don't see how in the name of creation you can get up any speed, either coming out and then turning left to get to the Kenhill or to stop of the left-hand turn into the parking. Whoever thought that one up? I mean, I think he should be hanged at dawn. Okay. Not too long ago, I traveled the distinguished streets of the Montgomery County and some pretty nice neighborhoods. And guess what I found? The same thing that we have seen in the district, I would say even longer, District of Columbia. Speed hump after speed hump, street after street. I'm thinking, yeah, well, what kind of a mania is this anyway? So I'm not here to argue about, as I said, it's with us now, and I'm not arguing against that. I want to make my peace with it, and I think most of us probably would too. I was appalled, frankly, when I saw what happened to the lower end of Bel Air Drive. 4 speed humps, just a few car lengths apart, 4 of them. Now, what kind of a traffic mess were they conjuring up anyway when they arrived at that particular decision? You know, if we have to have them, I think 2 would have been fine. But anyway, that didn't happen, so that's the way it goes. So I think we need to we need to avoid going off the deep end. I guess that's basically what I'm saying in so many words. It's going to happen. I can live with it. I'm sure we all can. But for God's sakes, let's not spread those things all over creation. I think it's overkill. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. G. That's my little nickname. I live in Meadowbrook. I wanted to just comment on 3 things quickly. And again, like the gentleman just said, it's not going to kill me or anything if I don't, get this resolved. But the 4-way stop signs over at Stony Brook and Bel Air, it's the most irritating thing. I don't know who came up with that. I'm kind of like this gentleman. To me, it's going to cause an accident eventually because it's just wasn't necessary. I'll comment on that. The 4-way stops. Do you all know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah. At Bel Air and Stony Brook. It's like somebody decided to just do something, and they did it after all these years, and I've been here for over 15 years. No, not that I know of, no accidents. The other issue, not an issue, but I was wondering, can we get yard pickup containers? Just something I want. Yard waste containers, right. The last thing, this might be Maryland Parks and Planning issue, but I'll just mention, for example, Glen Allen Park is a park where my mother, who I take care of, she likes to be wheeled around that little baseball field over there. And so when the weather temperature is higher, like 50 or above, it's locked during the winter. So I had called Maryland Parks and Planning about it. I'm like, well, if the temperature is warm enough, why can't those gates be open? Because when we have to park over in the other parking lot by the tennis court, sometimes there are teenagers out, they're smoking weed, there's stuff that just makes my mother nervous. So I'm just wondering why those gates can't be opened when the temperature allows, not when it's snowing or icy or anything like that. But when the temperature allows, because we like to park in that parking lot where she can see our car and I can wheel her around. And that's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jade Stasuli. I live in the Somerset section. I've been a resident of Bowie for 31 years. I left very briefly and then I came back and purchased a home here. So my concerns now are more real, I guess. It's been about 6 years that I've owned. This comment is about the code violations. I know it's been a gripe, I think, over the years. I'm sure much different from the original owners, but we do have code violation lists online, and I don't see that they're being followed at all. I asked, I think it was in the spring, I don't know if it was a Bowie Expo or what, but I did ask I think they were Parks and Planning folk, and they said someone does go around quarterly, but I asked, what does that mean to me? Because I don't see that happening. I have, not just on my street, but across at least the Somerset section that I've seen, people who do not cut their shrubs at all. They've overgrown. People who have tons of toys on their front yard and boxes that sit there forever. And I don't know why. I take care of my property. I mow my lawn. You know, I keep it nice looking. It kind of is, it's upsetting to have to then go and see these people who are living around and also not taking care. And I don't know if it's renters or people also that are around, but regardless, I think we should all probably be holding Bowie to a little bit higher stature. I know at one point I was told, you know, probably back in the 80s, that they were very intense with the code violations, and now I think it's slipped the opposite way. So I know a lot of things are changing, and I mean, they've changed a lot since I was little here, but I think we could try to keep it still nice looking. So that's my one kind of comment and question, I guess, about what we're going to be doing about that. And also just another question. I saw at one point the I section had compost pickup. Is that something that's still going on? And is that going to be spread throughout the rest of the community? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again. Hi, council members. I'm sorry. Did I?
Discussing whether or not to give a brief answer to the previous questions. Composting, there are 6 or 7 neighborhoods that are part of a pilot project at the moment. As far as I know, they're still studying it. Jackie, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't have any information.
Okay. Jackie Taman is from Public Works. She will take that one back, and we'll get an answer on that. Yes. The city does subsidize the cost of composting bins. They're available at City Hall. There's only a couple of them left right now, but we're getting another order in. And so just call before you come to buy one. They're only $20, and they're this big and this round. So code enforcement, we have 7 officers covering the whole city. You can help us by reporting problems. You're not snarking on your neighbors. It's really helping to keep our community good. So and they need your help. They cannot be everywhere. They are driving through the communities all the time, and 2 of them are doing commercials. So they need your help, eyes and ears. And we're working on an education campaign for code as well. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. I am Tammy Gibson. I live in Summerfield at Covington. I moved to Bowie in 2005. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so I come from a community who are neighborly. We respect each other, one another. We respect our properties, and it was a wonderful place to live and to grow up. And one of the reasons why I came to Bowie is close to my job, as well as the beautification of the trees and shrubberies. And it felt like home. So that was a great attraction for Bowie. So I do see changes in Bowie. One thing I do want to state is, or to make a statement, to have the mayor and others to ask folks to do their jobs. This is what they tell us in the federal government. Do your job well. You know, go beyond what they're asking you to do. So each and every staff, individuals who work in different departments, do your job. You know, do it with pride. And that, you know, even if you are, you know, you're lacking in human capital, you don't have enough people to do the jobs. I know I'm overworked, but at least I can say I go in every day and I do my job, and I'm a team member. So I would ask you all to, you know, leverage your human capital, your resources to your folks to say, you know what, we're public servants. We want to do our jobs very well. So that's one thing I wanted to state here. What is Bowie known for? We need to have a branding. I know you said equestrian, but for me, clean streets. Something like Palm Springs, you know, when you go there, the cleanliness of the city. So when I say do your job well, let's say, hey, it's clean in Bowie. Their streets are paved. There's no trash. The homes and the property around the homes are in place. So let's look at that. So as I state, have the staff members to have stretch goals in their jobs. So that way they know what is expected for them and beyond. Also for the businesses in Bowie. We need to basically put a check on them. A lot of the businesses, such as the grocery stores, are dirty. I'm a scientist. I see all this chaos in grocery stores, other venues, and I've seen complaints on Nextdoor. I've seen complaints on Yelp, and complaints from years ago, and it's still the same issues. So if we can leverage the businesses to do better and to look better and to, make it better for Bowie and not be substandard with the information with the goods and services they're providing to us. So I wish that we could, put a little bit more responsibility on these businesses to have a better business model and better presentation. And one more thing I noted, I am a part of my board, and I always call, and I'm always visiting code compliance, always. I have a relationship with a lot of the staff members. And so I do take my time, take photographs, I report folks, but one of the big things is with the change in business structure is many of the communities now have Airbnbs, and some of the laws do not cover where you have individuals coming in and out of a home within a community for Airbnb purposes. So if we can look at any of your laws or guidelines and guidances that could assist communities where they won't run into issues with these strangers coming in. They may be staying over, they may be trashing the neighborhood, causing issues. I would greatly appreciate it, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson.
Thank you.
And meet another fellow person from Louisiana.
Oh, you actually are. I know you've gone to school there,
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Natal Sims. I am a 20-year resident of Bowie, and I've spent the last 10 of those years in Woodmore Estates. Just wanted to focus on really on overdevelopment. First, congratulations, Mr. Mayor, on your election, and city council members on your elections and re-elections. I just want to make sure and maybe add to other residents' concerns about overdevelopment in the city. And I'd like for the council really to focus. I do support development, but responsible development. And I'd really like for the council to support development at the right time, the right place, and in the right capacity. I encourage the council to continue to advocate for those three types of things: right place, right time, and right capacity. And I want to express my appreciation to some of the former members of the council and current members of this council for your support of the community when we were opposed to the development or changes in the rules that seemingly will allow the development at the Freeway Airport. And Mr. Mayor, you, before you were even elected, were testifying at public hearing about that. And I really did appreciate the position that the city of Bowie took, even though ultimately we lost that vote. There's still ongoing litigation about that issue, but I really do appreciate the council being supportive of the community, and I just want to continue to encourage you to continue to advocate for the city of Bowie on things like that. I was disappointed, however, with respect to the vote on the ice rink. I really think that should have gone to referendum, and I was disappointed with the prior council's decision to move forward. And so I would ask, and I know that's not something that you can address here, but I'd ask that the council consider whether and to what extent that can be revisited at this point. It may be too late, but if it's not, I think it's worth at least considering it. And lastly, I just want to make sure that the council is aware that for me personally, speeding is very much an issue. I know that probably most of you don't know me, but you might know my house. I live on the corner of Driftwood and Mount Oak Roads. I am the person whose fence has been hit multiple times. I live in that house, and my husband and I live in that house. So we are very, very much concerned about speeding along that corridor, and we would very much appreciate speed enforcement or some sort of monitoring or incorporation of some element of public safety beyond what we have now to abate that speeding issue in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natal.
Just want to say something about Church Road really quick to give everybody a broad update. So in the House of Delegates, I was going to say House of Representatives, but in the House of Delegates, Ron Watson put a bill forward to put speed cameras in that area with Eric Barron. So obviously with freeway coming, with this ice rink potentially coming as well, we're going to have some real conversations. Now, Todd Turner has assured me that what we're going to do on the county level, along with Angela Alsobrooks, is bring back the Church Road workforce group. So try to figure out ways that we can either expand or what we need to do to that road as we have projects coming in that area. That is my majority of my district, so I'd love to speak to you more about that after. But did want to let everyone know that I'm pretty sure that the bill did pass, local bill did pass, and so we will have speed cameras. So yeah, it's out of committee at least. So we will have potentially speed cameras in that area, which will slow some things down.
Okay, while you're coming up, just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to read a couple of the texts that have come in. This one says, can the City of Bowie send a formal objection to WMATA's plans to discontinue the C28 and B29 commuter bus routes? These are critical for the livelihood of many of the riders. The city has gone on record as opposing some of these changes in the bus routes, and we're also working to arrange a meeting with WMATA about those routes and some other things. And the other text that I have is, why does the city allow developers who are soliciting, why does the city allow developers who are soliciting business contracts serve on the Economic Development Committee? Okay, we'll take that. Okay, welcome.
That could be an answer right there. Good evening. I am Lisa Reynoso. We are on the Saddlebrook O.
I'm sorry, could you say your name again?
Lisa Reynoso.
Thank you.
I'm on the Saddlebrook side, OC, I think. East. And my primary concern is security. You know, we're a part of the ring system and next door, and the occurrences of, you know, these gentlemen going around and opening doors, and now they've even been so emboldened to now go up to the doors of the houses and wiggle the handle. I know one of our neighbors actually got in the car and chased them, so it is becoming extremely dangerous. And, you know, I know that some of our neighbors have firearms, and it is getting more concerning because the occurrences are happening more frequently, and now they are getting even more emboldened, I think, because nothing happened. These occurrences are like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And I mean consistent, very consistent. We have their faces, we have videos, we have all of that, and it doesn't really seem like anything is happening because, like, we don't see any patrol cars coming around, and I can't control man hours. I don't know what's going on. I love y'all, thank you. But you guys aren't coming around at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and so it is becoming a concern because I think they know the hours that they have freedom to roam. Or maybe you are going somewhere, you're just not coming to my side. Come on over, please. Yes, I will come. So a huge concern is they are now coming up to doors and going to the house itself. My other concern is, so we're new to Bowie, so not like this distinguished gentleman that's been here so long and, you know, some of our other neighbors. But one of the reasons my husband won in getting us here is because of safety is because of, you know, various things, but I'm big on holidays, big on Christmas, big on decorating our house. We have, you know, some professional folks come out and put up our lights. This year, our lights got cut, and a whole lot of other folks around us lights got cut, snipped. Not an animal, not anything, because it's literally a cut. The lights on our yard, it was so strategic that they actually like put them back together. So it took a really long time to find the source of the cut. So I know that happened to 20 plus of us, where don't know what time they came, don't know when they came, don't know how they came, but our lights are cut. And it's just, it kind of goes along with security and protection and all of that. If you can come up to my car and try to open the door, if you can come up to my house and wiggle the handle, and now you're coming up to my house and cutting our lights, it's just getting a little bit out of control. And, you know, coming to this neighborhood, things happen everywhere. But getting here and moving to this area, it was because there was a sense of security in it, you know, in addition to some other things. And the last thing that we are, you know, we've had complaints about and we've called about is pet responsibility. So we're pet owners. We have a little English bulldog. A lot of you may know him. His name is Jovito. He's more popular than us. He's very, very friendly. But we're responsible with our pet. We pick up after him. We don't leave, you know, little bags around. We walk him appropriately and at appropriate hours. There are neighbors that unfortunately don't walk their pets, but they choose to put them in their backyard only and allow them at ungodly hours, and I have a little one, to bark. Like I don't know how long. So our neighbors have gotten together. We've written petitions because that's what we were told to do: write a petition, turn it in. The dogs are still barking, and it's sad because they're crying and barking and all of that. So I just want to also put at the forefront pet responsibility. That's it. I think that was my 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Reynoso. Saddlebrook East. Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you all for holding these listening sessions. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be heard, and I think it shows a lot of initiative on your guys' part, so I appreciate your service to this community. I've only lived here for about 4 years, so this is just like my initial impressions of Bowie as a community. 2 things. First thing is small, second one is a little bigger. First one is I have seen our trash men pick up the trash and like hastily throw it in the trash, you know, in their truck, and then set it back down, and there's like literally trash flying around the air that just gets in my lawn and my neighbor's lawn, and then it just gets blown around our neighborhood. I've seen that like on multiple occasions. That's very frustrating. So that's the small thing. The bigger thing is I'm very concerned with the lack of small local businesses in Bowie. That's something that's like very frustrating. My husband and I are young, we don't have kids yet, we have friends that are in the same situation, and if we just want to go grab coffee or want to grab a beer, like we go to Annapolis, we go to DC, our business goes elsewhere because there are not, this city doesn't seem to foster, you know, I don't know if it's the retail space, I don't know if it's the zoning laws, but it does not foster a space for small local businesses to thrive, and that is something that I would like to see more action taken on your guys' part to maybe have mixed zoning laws. We can have, you know, residential space and also small local businesses. Maybe you have a portion of new retail space set aside for small local businesses. There are things that you can do to help encourage that, and as a young person in this town, and I'm sure others would agree, that was something that I would very much like to see. So again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Could you tell us your name? And
yes, my name is Laura Abendroth, and I live just across the way in the K section.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome. Thank you. My name is Zeta Sherman Wilson, and I'm from the P section. This is my second meeting. I just came out to see if we all had the same concerns in Bowie, but I have some concerns overall. My number one concern is a new high school for Bowie. I have reached out as far as trying to get a petition started or to get the ball rolling, because I have no problem with doing what needs to be done, especially with the new developments coming. I think it's Lake Ridge, is that the one across from Wawa? Okay, and then there's an Amber Ridge that's coming next to the old Lime Bank, which is Westco Bank now, that they've been taking over. So with that happening, some of the schools are already overcrowded, but the high school, I believe, will probably take a bigger hit than any other school. I understand that there has been funding or earmarked for, is it more middle schools? So I'm just hoping that, you know, that a new high school will be coming soon. The other concern is, of course, the Bowie Town Center is losing business, but I was also told that the Sears location, there's a possibility that that will be torn down and developed into condos. And also, I've received some information about the P3 funding for the schools. And that Bowie did not receive any of the funding allocation, and I was wondering if the question can't be answered now, if something could be put on the website as to why there was no P3 funding, and number two, how could the citizens of Bowie be, can get the type of funding that's needed.
You're saying P3?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Public funding. And the other concern is, in the P section, it seems like every other month, there's WSSC coming out to tear up the roads. They tear them up for the piping, and then they put them back, and then they come back to the same location. And I was just wondering why so much, destruction of the roads, and what is the problem with the pipes in the P section? And I think that's it. And then, of course, the Metro, WMATA, trying to cancel the bus routes, C28, the B22, I think it's the B24 and the C29. Now, from what I understand, they're willing to keep the C29, but only on weekends, but that's to allow people in the neighborhood, whether it's, you know, to attend the park or those who work there, to run on the weekends only, so employees and patrons can get to Six Flags.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
I want to address really quick the Bowie Town Center thing. As it's the district I get to represent, we as a city have an issue with the type of businesses we have here. We have more Class C businesses and not Class A businesses. As you just mentioned, if you're young, even if you're old, no matter who you are, you can't really find a place in Bowie if you really want to go out. The council has not made a decision on what will happen with the Sears location. I think we're all in discussions right now as to what that possibility will be. The reality is that the nature of retail is changing. We're in a place where you kind of need that mixed use. You kind of need that residential component for those Class A businesses to come in. Now, we're the largest municipality in Prince George's County. We're also one of the wealthiest. We deserve those Class A businesses. So I just want to let everyone know, as we're having these discussions, let's just make sure that we do understand that there may be a potential of a retail, of a residential component to it. What the impacts are, we'll figure out, you know, down the line. But please make your voice heard on this, because this will be important to the future of Bowie Town Center. Right now, we're getting beat by Crofton. They're doing a great job over there in Wall Chapel by putting residential back there and getting Class A businesses. It's time for Bowie to step up and start acting like we're the biggest municipality in Prince George's County.
Ms. Royster, give me a second if you would. Welcome. But let me read a couple more of these texts. What is the schedule for code violation enforcement? Quarterly monitoring is not enough. What are council members' plans for attending HOA meetings in their district? And the next one says, there are a lot of seniors in Bowie. Are there any training for people who would like to help seniors in our community? And then the final, that's a repeat, so that's it. Welcome, Ms. Royster.
First of all, I want to just know, how do you know my name?
You were at a previous session.
Yeah, but still, I didn't know my name.
You said some nice things.
Yeah, that's scary. Okay. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and city council members and staff. And I'm happy to see you, Mayor, because I did attend, like the other lady, I did attend the other meeting, and so I'm glad you're here in person. My name is Jessie Royster, as she just said, and I live in the Glen Allen community. And as you've heard me say, I love the city of Bowie. I truly love the city of Bowie. As many of you know, the city of Bowie has been voted one of the best places to live in America. And if you don't know it, check it out. And there's a reason we were voted like that. And so people who move here love here. And I just want to say to the new people who just came here, welcome. You know, you're not going to be disappointed because it's just like a family. You're not going to be happy with all family members, but they're still your family. So, you know, you just work things out and you talk about things. So I took this last opportunity to come and speak again. And my pet peeve, again, is the Bowie Town Center. And that's my pet peeve. And I'm deeply concerned about the decline of it, because to me the Bowie Town Center is like the crown jewel. It really is, since it's there. Therefore I just believe that we all should be concerned. And I wrote a letter back in 2018, December 2018, to the management, to the marketing, about Bowie Town Center. And basically I'll just get to the beef of it, because they removed the food court. I get it. They removed the food court, so I'm not going to go into that part of it. But it just says, furthermore, if there's any possibility of alluring popular restaurant chains to the Bowie Town Center, there was a question mark. I know for a fact that there are so many people love Red Lobster restaurant. Currently we have to go to an undesirable area to a Red Lobster, or to dine at a Red Lobster further away. Would you please reach out to restaurant chains such as the Green Turtle, PF Chain, Cordova, Baja Fresh Mexican Grill, Charlie's, Philly Steaks, Buffalo Wild Wings, Lido Pizza, Tutti Frutti, and the Cinnabon. And so these are all well-known and well-liked establishments. They would draw people. I'm also asking that if you cannot lure such stores as Nordstrom's, Lord & Taylor's, and those type of stores, that you consider more shoe stores. You know, you can consider stores that I don't even shop at. You can consider men's hat stores. A lot of men, they would love to go to a store where they can just go and pick up a hat without having to drive a long ways, without having to go to a mall and all that stuff. They can also, if not men, the hat stores, I was telling them about shoe stores, even cigar stores. So it can be stores that doesn't necessarily I like or I want to go to, but I was just thinking about A, B stores and not D, E, F stores. You know, so I just think that, you know, homes in our community are selling in the 4 ranges, and you just want your community to reflect where you live. I'm very proud of this city. I pick up trash when I'm out. I try to help out. And so one of the things I ended with, if there's any way that I can be of service to you in achieving these goals, please let me know. Thanking you in advance for your attention and your ongoing commitment to this community. So it was a very respectful letter, and just encouraging them to just make some changes. So that was that. And then if you just look at, I heard the last time about Laurel, the city of Laurel. What I've noticed about the town center in Laurel, if you look at it, it's really not department stores. It's mainly food stores and a pet store. That's really what it is. It's new. It's got Panera Bread, it's got Starbucks, but it's mostly little food stores and a grocery store. So that was one. And I just wanted to take up for the Public Works. I think they do a fine job. That's me. That's me. I think Public Works do a fine job. I see those guys out there working. I have about about 4 or 5, I come from a family of 14, so it's a lot of us. We don't live in the same house, but it's a lot of us. And so about 4 or 5 of us live in the city, own homes in the city of Bowie. And we all applaud those trash guys. So I apologize on their behalf for anybody who saw something that happened on one time. But I'm gonna tell you, those guys pick up a lot of heavy stuff. And I can just tell you that I myself, I try not to put out stuff that I know, if I only got a little tiny bag, for them to pick up that whole big recycling thing. So that was one of my other things is about recycling, that if there's a public place, because sometimes I want to just drop off my recycling. I don't want to have the guys have to do all that labor intensive work to pick up that great big recycling thing just to take out a little bitty bag. And so I just want to say that. And then I was just going to ask lastly that if you guys can put out more of these where neighborhood code compliance, we receive some. I think that if every home in the city of Bowie got one of these, I read through this thing, and if every home got one of these, it's very enlightening. It tells you everything about pets, your yard, recycling, trash, code enforcement, everything about the city of Bowie. So I love this city because they really work hard, and nobody paid me, so they won't ever see me again. But I just love this city. I'm very proud to live here. We've been here like 20 years. We've never had a break-in. That's just us. And so you can just say we've been blessed or whatever, but we live in a great community. I check our numbers with the community, with the HOA, and it's good. So I love the city of Bowie, and I just want to tell you guys, keep doing the job that you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Royster. And this is why I remember your name.
Oh,
yes. Welcome, sir.
Hi, good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Anthony Wilburn. I live in the P section. And I wanted to make a comment about the hockey rink. I share the concerns that I heard some of the other people come up and voice regarding the hockey rink. I was just wondering, how did it come to that decision, that we need a new hockey rink? How much is it costing in taxpayer dollars? That kind of thing. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about is the widening of Route 197 between the middle school and Old 450. It seemed like there was some momentum at one point to widen that road, but it seems like, has the momentum stopped, or is there a schedule for that? That's what I have.
A couple quick answers for you. The cost on the ice rink is about $24 million.
Okay.
So that was passed as part of the last city council. So that's kind of where we are at the moment, but we're listening. And
okay.
So, and then on 197, that's long been a issue. It's been on our agenda for the state and for the county for some time as a priority. We had funding for it once, and then it disappeared. We put it back on the list. Have you heard anything more recent than that?
Yeah. We have a lobbying firm in Annapolis working on this issue, right? We're trying to make sure that we get higher in the governor's priority list. We were dropped at one point from the county's priority list this year. Thank God for Councilman Todd Turner, who gets to be the chair of the county council. So now we're back on the county's priority list. So we're working on it, and hopefully we'll have a solution soon. We were just touring a middle school over there, and we just saw the traffic when you're trying to get into that school. If any of you guys have kids who go to that school, and it's an egregious situation. So we're working on it and trying to get higher in the governor's priority list.
And that project has been revisited from a design standpoint as well. So there was an original design engineering project, and they've gone back and redone that to comply with current standards. So it's pretty close to being shovel ready, but we need the money.
All right, thanks.
Welcome.
That was my husband. I'm Deborah Wilburn. How you doing? Congratulations, Mayor, and congratulations to the council members as well. I am a long-term resident of Bowie. Let me just say that I was first acquainted with this city and with this community when I was a teenager and made a trip from my high school to Bowie State University, and I said to myself, this is the community that I'm going to live in. And so that came to fruition. So I'm glad to be here. Been a member or lived in this community since 1999. And I can't believe I'm saying this because at the time when the Bowie Town Center went up, I was upset because I'm like, I moved to this community because I liked the ruralness and I didn't want the overdevelopment and everything. But now that the Bowie Town Center is there and I shop there, now I have some concerns. And I don't want to belabor the point about the Bowie Town Center, but I just have a couple of questions because one is I noticed that Party City headquarters have been, they stopped production on that project, and I'm not sure why, and it seems like that's been the case for several months, and I'm not sure, not that I do a lot of partying these days, but still, I just want to know what's going on with that. Secondly, I overheard that one of the arts and crafts stores left the Bowie Town Center because the owner of that property are requiring stores to have a 10-year lease. I'm not sure if that's typical for businesses, but I wanted to know why, because that to me seems like you're not going to attract businesses if you're asking them to commit to that long term. So I wanted to find out about that. And the other thing is I live in the P section on the Pointer Ridge off of Peach Walker Drive. And I notice a lot of cars travel, cut through our area from 301 to Mount Oak. And off of, I want to say Peach Walker, no, is it? Oh, maybe Mount Oak, maybe it's Mount Oak Road to Peach Walker. It needs to be a street light there, because it's very dark when you go to make a left onto Peach Walker Drive. I can't hardly see, and I'm sure, I mean, when I make that left, I'm always worried that I might maybe hit somebody who's about to, you know, ride the bus there, because I can't really see them, and I have asked about placing the light there, so that's my comments. Thank you.
Ms. Wilburn, I do have one comment regarding the Party HQ that you had a question about. So you're speaking of the company that took over the food court?
Yes.
Specifically. So they had an issue where they had to install an HVAC system. So that kind of prolonged their project, but they're still anticipating opening late March, early April. So they're back on track with that.
Okay.
So hopefully you'll hear some more information on when they open.
Okay.
On that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to read a couple more texts here. I think this might be a duplicate, but what is the plan, or is there a plan for Bowie Town Center? The next one says, we don't need a new ice arena to serve outsiders who don't live or pay taxes in Bowie. We need a new gym to serve the young people who live here. There are tons of basketball teams that don't get court time because there are only 2.5 courts and 1 full court at the gym. Cancel the arena and build a new gym that actually serves residents. And let me read a couple more. Mayor Adams, please take a moment to explain the aging sewer pipe issue that the local paper quoted you on a few weeks ago. That will take probably more than a few seconds. I don't know if you want to get into it, or we can provide a response there.
I can give a real quick overview of what everybody knows. And
Sorry.
Can you hear me anyway? I use my outside voice all the time. So just really quick, what they were talking about, and I want to use the correct terminology. It's basically true relocation. Basically, the pipes weren't lined historically, and so there's a buildup within them. And the issue we're talking about is making sure we've sent a letter to the state. We've also talked to our congressional leaders. as well as our local delegations, and basically saying those of you who have had the problems before, you may know with our city water, you may see that their water comes out brown and those kind of things. So we're going to and planning on the project of restoring those pipes, i.e. of retrofitting that. And so we're going through that process. That's what they're talking about. And so one of the things that they quoted is that we as a city council and myself signing off is we sent a letter to the governor, to Peter Francho, as well as to
The treasurer.
Ms. Cobb as well. And so we're requesting them to support us on this project. And so that's what was quoted in the paper. And we really need to do that because not only is it just about the drinking water, though it's safe, it may be brown, but that's just but the real issue is about safety as well. Because if we have a fire and other things that's been pointed out, because of the pipes being congested, there's a concern with our fire departments and others about having low water pressure. So again, that's a project that the city is looking at doing, and that's what that was, is we're just being very proactive and trying to make sure we can get the resources to get that done for the city.
I'm going to jump in real quick on this issue as well. So when I got on 4 years ago, this was one of the first issues that I was asking George Stefanos at our Public Works Department about. So the short version is our water system was built over 50 years ago, and what the mayor's describing is the tuberculation that takes place in the pipes. That's simply the iron buildup that happens over time. WSSC is having the same issues with their system right now. Their system's about as old as ours is. The challenge we have with our water and sewer system, it serves about 40% of Bowie residents. It's paid for entirely by the fees that water and sewer users pay. So we can't use tax dollars to support the system. We looked at loaning money from our general fund to the other and decided the interest rate wasn't competitive. Anyway, long story short, it can only be funded by you, the users of the water and sewer system, paying fees. The challenge is that over time, as utilities have gotten more efficient and use less water, the perverse effect is that we generate less money, right? As you use less water. But the costs of maintaining the system do not go down. So the sick challenge that we have is that as your appliances continue and our appliances continue to get more efficient, we have to charge more for the use of even less water to be able to keep the system up. The other challenge we're having is over the course of a generation, the city council wasn't willing to raise water rates in order to save money. So we knew eventually, having 90 miles of pipe in the ground that we controlled, we would have to replace it all eventually, but the system never saved the money needed to do that. That was a political decision made over the course of about 20 years. And so now we're having to make up for lost time, right? We've got 90 miles of pipe, almost all of which is going to have to be replaced at some point in the future. We've got a project we're working on right now that's looking at, I think, initial like 14 miles worth of pipe, but we're having 13 miles worth of pipe, but we're having to fund that. We're having to get the money for that. So we're looking at the system taking out loans. We're looking at that fee we had to tack on, and we're looking at in the future having to continue to incrementally increase that rate a little bit. Our total combined rate is not as high as WSSC's yet. If many of you, I think with Saddlebrook residents and others in the P section, you have WSSC. If you compare water bills, WSSC's is much higher than ours still, but ours will have to probably continue to go up incrementally so that we can recapitalize that system. We're doing everything we can. The mayor wanted us to send that letter to the state to see if they can support us. We're going to continue to pursue that, but that's kind of where we are right now, and I just wanted to be transparent with that.
Okay, welcome. You've been patient. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Steve Kruker. I live in the Y section with my family. Been here about 19 years. And anyway, I really do appreciate, my family really appreciates living in Bowie. There's so much good about the city and that, but I do want to address another issue. But before I address the other issue, I just want to make a quick comment with regard to the ice rink and with regard to the replacement of the pipes. Just a thought, just a question. Why is it that we're spending $24 million on an ice rink when we have a huge, huge cost related to the replacement of the water pipes? Just a thought. I'm not even asking for an answer necessarily. You may if you want, but just a thought for you. Maybe could that money be better spent?
As I was describing, we can use the money from one system to fund the other system.
So what you're saying is, as the ice rink becomes profitable, the profits to be shifted from the ice rink to pay for the, let's say, replacement of pipes?
The opposite. They're separate funds. So our regular general fund, as I was describing, is totally separate from any money that's generated by the water system.
Okay.
So the water system by law has to, any money it gets has to come from users. Because it only covers 40% of Bowie residents, 60% are on a different system.
Oh,
and
okay, I
so
see.
money in one pot does not interact with the other. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, the main topic I want to talk about is public schools. And I'll tell you right now, as I mentioned before, Bowie has so much that we can be thankful for. It's a great city to live in so many ways, except the public school system. And I'm going to say something about that. Prince George's County Public Schools, unfortunately, as of last school year, was ranked number 22 out of 25 school systems in the state of Maryland. And we are at the bottom quarter in terms of quality of education we given to our children. I'm just going to say something about that. We need to do something very, very serious about that. In fact, what's kind of interesting too, I just happened to note that the Washington Post just a week ago, they wrote an article, and that was entitled, "Students Failing, Teachers Fleeing in Maryland, Calls for a Sweeping and Expensive Education Reform." Well, you know what? If that's the case across the state of Maryland, think about Prince George's County, think about Bowie. Now, I don't remember, Mayor Adams, if during the listening session, or I should say during the mayoral, debates, where, you know, different questions were asked of the different candidates, including yourself, with regard to education. If, for example, you believed in something to the effect that the city council, the city of Bowie, should have much more say in what happens with Prince George's County Public Schools School Board and the schools themselves, whereas we need to have some sort of liaison between us and them. And I'm gonna say this, I am totally for that. We have to force them to remain accountable. In fact, what I'd like to propose that what we do is that we have a liaison which is considered to be a permanent member of the school board. And I say we need to force their hand on this because our children are suffering because of their lousy school system here in Bowie. And we need to force their hand on it and require them to allow us to have more than just the representation in the district. Because I know we have a district representative that at large kind of represents the whole area. But someone from the city of Bowie that's perhaps on the council, perhaps a liaison between the council and them, that sits on that board every single meeting to make sure that our priorities are addressed and heard. Because very frankly speaking, in fact, this is kind of interesting. The Democrats and the Republicans in the state have come up with some really good plans, both of them, whether it be, let's say, the Democrats at large in Annapolis or Governor Hogan with his new plan. The new plan he is proposing is basically those schools that receive a 1-star, failed schools, will have the opportunity, if his plan is actually brought into being, to literally have members of the community where these 1-star schools reside literally take control of the schools. I'm 100% for that. Where we can take control of them, we set the rules, we set the curriculum, everything with regard to the school, and the state funds it. But we are accountable to the state. We need to step up and do something because our children's future are at stake. And so, anyway, having said that, what I want to mention too, this is just off an article I sent to the Bowie Blade. This was several months ago. And I would just like to read the last part of it. Normally I don't like to read, I like to just talk ad lib, but I think this really kind of encapsulates the point that I'm trying to make. And by the way, I do want to give you a copy of information that I have over here, and that's this. Mayor Adams, let us work together to make Bowie excellent by requiring PGCPS to be directly accountable to the City Council for significantly improving the education they provide to our children. Benefits to our families include more children prepared for life, less involved in destructive behaviors, more local business investment, less unemployment, higher residential property values, lower taxes, more safe neighborhoods, less crime, more families with children moving into Bowie, and less moving out. So what I'm simply saying is this: let's take the bull by the horns and let's deal with PGCPS.
Thank you, Mr. Krukar.
And I'd like to give this information to you, if I may, please.
Absolutely. Okay, the line's getting sort of long, so I'm going to start enforcing the time limit. I've been pretty lax on that. I apologize.
You want me to start?
Yes, please.
All right, my name is Jim April, resident of Bowie since 1966. I live in the Somerset section. And while I want to say that I appreciate these listening sessions and the way the city council members seem to be reaching out on a regular basis with their emails. And if you're not on their emails yet, give them a call. They'll let you know every month. I didn't come here to praise, I came here to cause a pucker factor for some people in this room. Code compliance is a big issue. It needs to be addressed. We call, we submit reports, there's reaction, nothing happens. We call again, they respond, we don't see anything happening. I see trucks out on the street all the time, not covered. I see trucks from companies that are flipping houses, keeping their trucks parked in the driveway while the project's going on. That doesn't go along with the code compliance. So we're either going to do it or we're not. For the police, I appreciate your communication improvement on that. Communication's definitely improved within the city, reaching out. However, we have a consistent problem with panhandling, and the panhandlers are getting fairly aggressive. Call the non-emergency numbers, there's a response, but something else has to happen. Crime in Bowie appears to be going up. There's a good communication through the Ring community, the Ring camera community, and through next door. But we'd like to see or hear a response. What's being done? What's being planned? I know there are police patrols out there, but I don't really get to see them. And I know there's a plan. I know he's going to do a video on it to explain it. That'll be helpful, but that's one of my pet peeves. City manager, I'd like to see a quarterly report from his different sections sent out to the citizens of Bowie so we know what's going on, to include all the sections. Communications is doing a great job. They have videos out and information flowing consistently. City Alert works well. But as far as the code compliance complaints and resolutions, don't hear anything. Public Works does a great job. Their face of Public Works is the collections, which are always good. Those guys are consistently careful in their work, as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, one more thing. Okay, the city manager, going back to Public Works, the street paving schedule, I tried to communicate through the city page to try to get a street paving schedule for last year. Never got a response. 2 other times I tried to get a response on questions through the city website system, no response. And the last thing I have has to do with the plumbing repairs that are going on to the drain pipe replacement. If they could put a schedule out on that also, I think that would be appreciated. I've had flags from the Miss Utility in my front yard for the last 3 weeks. I'm assuming it's from the plumbing, because it's myself and a neighbor across the street, but I have no idea when somebody's going to show up. All right?
Sir, could you tell us your name and where you live?
Jim April, and I live in Somerset.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria, hold on one second. I'm going to just read a couple more texts if I could. This says, Laverne Hudson, District 2, Annapolis and Bel Air Drive. How well is the recycle program operating in Bowie since China has stopped purchasing sustainable products from the U.S.? I hear many cities are being affected with skyrocketing costs to continue. Second issue, is the city alarm system operative at the 450 firehouse? Seeing how Bowie has grown, what means is in place for emergency alerts if the phones are out? And 3, what is inside the green tower on Bel Air Drive? Is it a water tower? What's in it? I can't. Is it in stable condition? I can answer that one. It's water. It is a water tower, and it is used. That's our main water tower, our main water storage tank, rather. Is Bowie considered a sanctuary city? And number 5, what is being done to guarantee human trafficking is not being given cover here. And now, welcome.
Hi, my name is Victoria Herman. I've been a resident of Bowie since 1963. My parents moved in here. This is a night of airing pet peeves. I have 2. They're going to be very quick. I hate speeding. I have people who speed down my street. I work, I clean my gutters, I clean the storm drains so the flood doesn't happen. I have almost been hit 3 times by cars speeding on my street. Second thing, I've got school buses that keep coming down my street. I have repeatedly tried talking to the administration of the school buses. 0. Unlike you all, I don't get a response. Second, I have tried dealing with my local school board rep on this. Again, 0. Unlike the people in front of me, I don't get a response. At least you guys talk back. Third thing, could we have, when they do start the improvements on 197, another light? It's very hard to cross. Across it, you've got 1 light, very short. There should be a second light on 197 so people can get in and out of Long Ridge and in and out of Fox Hill. I live in Fox Hill. To show how old I am, this used to be my elementary school. Okay, people? That's how old I am. Again, I'd like to thank you very much for this listening session. As I said, my main complaints: speeding, using my street as a cut-through, and school buses that don't follow the routes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, it's Sue Rivera, and I actually chair the city's green team, and I'm saying that because I want you all to be aware that this is not only the census year, it's also the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And there's a group of us putting together informational activities, workshops, movies, speakers, all sorts of things. So please look in the Bowie Blade, look online, and you will see these events. We really want to get people out. Second thing, for all the interest that you all are expressing, be like me. Look at the committees that are available for membership. Get involved in the city and serve on a committee. I don't even remember how many committees we have, but there are plenty, and they address the range of these interests. Look online, check the committees, make the contact, and come and join us. Third thing, whether this is important, thank you, whether this is key or not, I really don't want you to be done with the listening sessions. I think that all the talk about ice rinks, blah, 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 it's money. I would love to have Money 101 for Bowie, where we sit down and understand the revenue, the expenses, what we can do, what we can't, what we need to help us, like bonds and all that stuff, so we are proactive when it comes to spending. I'm not opposed to a tax raise. If I want these services, I need to be willing to pay for them. But it's understanding that reality, and I think Michael did a great job explaining the whole water pipe thing and why we can't take it from here or take it from there. So I really would appreciate a focused discussion about Bowie money, our money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Tanner, and I've lived in the Millbrook section for over 50 years. And I want to thank the Bowie City Council for giving us the opportunity to speak to you and the people of Bowie about issues which affect our lives and which we care deeply about. And as our elected representatives, you have the duty and opportunity to govern in such a way that improves our lives and makes Bowie a better place to live in. And it is indeed a privilege to have this opportunity to let you know about a few issues that this community is concerned about. And I want to pause here, if I got written words, of course, to let you know that I have a report here to hand out to each of you after you're finished. I had planned to explain this, but it would take 15 to 25 minutes, and I know at this point you don't want to hear that.
Thank you.
So I'll try to be very brief and provide the report to all of you when I'm finished. First of all, I want to let you know that Bowie citizens are political activists. This is going to be a little different type of presentation too, sorry. Anybody that's been associated with these listening sessions has to realize that we're political activists. We also demonstrated that a few years ago when we mounted not one but 2 initiatives to recall a council member, and we did it. Now that was a step forward toward better government. Now, my 2 proposals would hopefully help to make Bowie government even better. And I want to also mention here, this is no criticism of the current city council. I would make these recommendations regardless of who was sitting up here or who was elected, because I think it will help with better government. My first recommendation is for the city council to investigate the ranked choice voting method and adopt it for use in future Bowie City elections. Much of my paper gives a real-life example using data from last year's Bowie election on how this can help lead to the election of council members who have the support of the majority of the voters, and not just under 30% of them, as happened in the 4th District during last year's election. Ranked choice voting is carefully described as preferential voting by Robert's Rules of Order, and is being used by jurisdictions all over this country, including the state of Maine for all statewide and federal elections, New York City, San Francisco, Utah, Colorado, Massachusetts, and even our neighbor over in Montgomery County, Tacoma Park. Bowie has an opportunity to be on the forefront of this nationwide movement toward ranked choice voting, and as Councilman Waffle reminds us, we are Prince George's County's largest municipality, and we should start using our voice, right? My second recommendation is to restore the 2-year terms of our mayor and city council members. This is the length that they have been throughout most of Bowie's history. With 2-year terms, the council should be much more responsive to citizens' concerns, and the cost of a general election should be about the same as the cost of a recall election. This proposal should lessen the chance of a recall election and have the desired result of better overall Bowie city government. I realize it would require more effort on the part of your re-election staffs, but when you do a good job, I feel certain that the citizens of Bowie will be more than happy to reward you for that with re-election. Although it would be easier for the city council to propose and make the change in term duration, we all know that it is possible for citizens to propose this change by petition. It would take signatures from 20% of the registered voters, about 9,000, but there's no time limit to collect these signatures, so I believe that when the Bowie electorate is moved to proceed, these signatures will be forthcoming. Finally, I want to once again thank you for this opportunity to speak to you on these issues and to convey to you my belief, which has been certainly reinforced during these listening sessions, that Bowie demands good and responsive government, and we look forward to receiving it from this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. I'm going to read a couple texts here, sorry. Why are we sacrificing safety for an ice rink? We have been without 2 connecting street lights for a month. There have been several repairs on these lights, and we need to get them replaced. This next one says, we have not been able to use our washer because the line to the street has been a problem. We've been going to a laundromat for 5 years because we can't get the line fixed. If whoever this is, please come up and talk to a staff person so we can get details. Please look into cleaning the outside of the post office on 197. The grass is growing between the cracks. The parking space lines are not painted. The service is not good. But that's not the word that was used. Welcome.
My name is Stephanie. I've been a resident of Bowie for 20 years. I moved here in 2000, started out Oak Pond Townhomes, moved to Tall Oaks, or house. So I just want to talk about the point, even though everybody's mentioned it, about overdevelopment. One of the reasons that I chose Bowie is that I like the green space. If I wanted to live somewhere where there were constant apartments, townhomes, I would have picked another location. So definitely that is a concern of mine. I also wanted to talk about like the Bowie Town Center and attracting businesses. I know that a lot of people want, you know, more restaurants, but I'm also wondering why we don't attract more businesses. Because the one example I thought about is I knew that the Melford community, I think I was reading, rejected the Amazon warehouse. I was like, that would have been great over in that big complex over near Bel Air, because a lot of times if you have businesses, then people will eat out and then you will draw restaurants. So that's something else I wondered about. I don't necessarily want it like in a neighborhood, but with some of the open, like the Bowie Town Center, you know, we're losing some businesses. That's already a developed area. That would be someplace nice. Or I always see some of the other businesses that have, you know, lease available. So maybe if we attracted more businesses, we could then get more quality restaurants, and then you would have the people during the week, even though I do eat out sometimes during the week, that are businesses that would go and eat out. On the weekends, you have the resident, and it just keeps the restaurants there. Also, I did also want to talk about a little bit about security and I guess police patrol. As it gets warmer, teenagers are teenagers, but sometimes it would be nice if the police would patrol some of the parks where you have people smoking drugs. Marijuana is not yet legal in Maryland, and if that's what you choose to do in your house, that's fine, but someplace where you have children, I don't think that should be allowed, and I think that that should be enforced. And I think that's, oh, one other question, why coming off of 50 did they move, somebody asked us a long time ago, like when you're coming from 50 to 197, I used to like it, you could just come off the ramp. I didn't have to worry about merging with someone else. It would be nice if they restored that. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Geedy. I lived in Bowie from 1962 to 1982, was Mr. Kramer's neighbor for that time. I moved out of state and then came back to Bowie 1989 and have lived here ever since. I came out tonight for one purpose and one purpose only, to tell you what was on my mind, and that's because I want to retire in Bowie. But I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to. See, I have a few more years to work before I retire, and I'm worried about the commuter buses that are no longer going to go to New Carrollton, the C28 and the B29. You tell me, I know we got a text, and I know that there was another commenter about the situation. However, the decision by WMATA is going to be made very soon. The last public hearing was last night, in fact. So the meeting between the mayor and the council members has to occur very soon, because the decisions are being made as we stand here tonight. And I would just ask you, please, make Bowie a place that people who need to work a little longer in their lives still can be able to live here and get to work every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Ali. That's A-L-L-I, 2 L's. And I live in Buckingham section since Memorial Day 1962, before Bill Kramer. Although I was 2 years overseas in Pakistan, I was not shopping for real estate. I was working for the federal government, and by the way, since then it's become one of the hottest places on earth. I want to talk about a climate action plan. I'm very concerned listening to the young people. I'm 88 years old. I've been told if you had one day left on earth, according to Martin Luther, you should plant a tree. Well, I think that Bowie, this fine community, these fine people, they deserve the challenge of becoming a model community for environmental protection. And yes, I will ask to be a member of Gary Allen's committee, yes. So, I don't know where to start. I've been watching, I read the newspapers, I look at the news. Cities all over are getting antsy, They want to do something. They're not going to get it from the president that we now have. I won't discuss that. But I do want to do something for however months or years I have left. What you can do is set a goal. Like I lived through World War II. President Roosevelt said, we're going to build 60,000 airplanes. 60,000. We did it. We did it. I remember Pearl Harbor. We're going to build a Navy stronger, several times stronger than that, and we're going to win the war. We were mobilized then. We were mobilized. We shouldn't have to wait for an environmental Pearl Harbor to get us moving. So think of it. We are parents, grandparents, and we're just plain human beings and neighbors. We really should, and I think this community qualifies for taking on a goal such as getting to zero greenhouse gases by 10 years from now. Set that. That's something to aspire to. I remember I was in the service. I was a machine gun ammo carrier in the Korean War, and I had to lug 225 cans of ammunition for the gun, plus my own and all that, and we had to go up and down mountains. And if I ever looked up to see how far I had to go, I would become dismayed. So I kept looking down, and I put 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and I could make it. We can make it, folks. We work together. We will reach a point where we may chastise somebody by saying, don't you know there's a war on? We did that, and there is a war on. We're dealing with Mother Nature, and Mother Nature is tired of being raped. So I want to work here. I want to work with you all, and again show this is Bowie. Bowie is the one that led Maryland and maybe the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Welcome. Thank you. My name is Margaret Newton, and I live in Old Bowie. I have 3 points that I'd like to make. The first one is loitering and drugs. I live on 6th Street. It's right there by the United Methodist Church. And these guys come out there. They don't live there, but this is like the meeting place. They sit there and they drink their whatever in the bottles, and they smoke their stuff, and they sell drugs. And I know where some of them, I've called the police, and the police said, the only thing they can do is if they catch them in the act right then. So it's sort of like we're in hostage there because they take up that area. Sometimes I've seen them block the school bus. One day the bus couldn't get by because they was on both sides and they wouldn't move. So I called the police. They never showed up. One other thing I want to say, if you want people to come, it has to be prosperous, has to look like it's something. Mr. Lott, close your ears. I done wore his ears out. You know the sign out there like by the Bowie, like you're going toward the Bowie Town Center and the shrubbery used to say Bowie? I love passing by there. I tell people, look there, we got our sign up here. That thing has been so raggedy, so nasty, and somebody need to dig it up and plant something else. It looks like I don't know what.
There is a plan for that. The ground is diseased, so that's a problem with it. You'll be hearing more about that soon.
Okay, now, and also we have a lot of empty stores in Old Bowie, right down that little road. And when I first moved to Bowie in 1996, there were a lot of antique stores, and they had one where it's in the back where the antique depot is. You could go downstairs, have a little tea or have a little something. Now it's nothing. So we need to have some type of store. Maybe we could have a first watch. They close in the evening, so when the crooks come out, they're gone. So my point is about the 24 million for the ice skating rink. And I hope I'm not offensive to most people, but most black people don't ice skate and play hockey. So to spend all that money, you know, we need, like they talk about, they need some more basketball, you know, court. And I tell you, a lot of old people don't ice skate either. So a swimming pool over there at the gym, some of them do. He don't play basketball, but he can roll the ball. That's okay. But anyway, so a swimming pool would be nice because, you know, that's exercise and a lot of people do that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I can't follow up with that. My name is Leslie Thompson. I live in the E section. I've lived in Bowie since when I moved out here, the trees began to disappear for the town center. And at that point, I'm going to say I've seen the city kind of take a downturn. So I'm interested, you know, it's great that I've seen growth and everything happen west of 50, but I'm really interested in what's going to happen to the east side of 50. Some of the concerns I'm seeing, for one, is like, again, the town center. To me, at this point, I say we need to just level it and just go somewhere else. I live within walking distance of the town center, but I will get in my car and leave Bowie. This is real talk. The Macy's is really not, I mean, even when they put it out there, it's really just a test store. So they weren't really looking to service us anyway. When they came into the city, it was never really their intent. I work there, so that's how I know. But it's also a food desert, because when you took the Giant from down 301, right? Now the only grocery stores you have are the one, the Safeway and that other Giant. And I heard someone else mention that those stores are dirty. And so, again, I'm within walking distance of the Giant, but I will get in my car and come over here to Harris Teeter or even go to Crofton. I should not have to do that. I have been a resident of PG County practically all of my life. My mother lives right in Upper Marlboro, so I know what this area is. I remember when the Walmart used to be 24/7, okay? And at that point, that Giant was somewhere that you wanted to go to. But now, and it's great that they want to give you those little things to wipe your carts. That's step one, but how about just even wanting to go in there and purchase quality food? I've had to return meat to that Giant before because of the fact that by the time you get it home, you go to use it. Don't use it a day after. You have to return items to the grocery store. So we really, I think, need to address that, especially if those additional homes and things are coming down that way. Something else, living on that side, can we look at speed cameras along Mitchellville Road, along Excalibur Road? And I'll say it, I may be one of those people who will, you know, contribute to those cameras often. However, because of the traffic that cuts through there, you know, and there are a lot of children, there are a lot of bike riders, there are a lot of people just walking. The light right there at Excalibur and Mitchellville Road, how many accidents have happened there? I remember a woman in her minivan, somebody just came flying through. We had to pull that woman out of an upside down minivan one morning. So there's that, and another area, the right turn on red at Northview. As you come Northview from the, coming out of the movie theater, and you make that right onto 197, if a metro bus is there, especially in the morning, cars will come and they will come around the bus. If any car just stops right there. Now you have a red light, a no turn on red going from 197 onto Northview, but not Northview onto 197. At some point, and I hate to see it, but that accident that occurs will be one of the worst accidents that will happen in Bowie. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I want to address the Mitchellville traffic situation. So there's two things that are happening in District 3 that we're really working on. The first is on that Excalibur Road. The community over there is really working to try to get some traffic calming measures. Their concern is that in the morning, people are rushing to get to work and using Excalibur, and there are kids who are out there. So that community is working through the process and eventually working with Public Works to try to get some public calming measures. I've been working with Todd Turner on the Mitchellville Excalibur right-left turn light. We were told no by the county. I'm going to forget the name of the department, Martin. Yeah, what he said. We were told no, but the next plan is to work with Senator Peters and try to put some pressure on this. So please let the county know we do need that light. I mean, we have a senior home there, and it's hard for them to get back home if that light doesn't exist. So please be working with us. And please get my email after this. Please stay on my email list. I'm gonna try to update as many folks in District 3 about what's going on and how you guys can be political activists, as someone just said.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you. A couple of things that I wanted to mention based on some comments made. Mr. Alley, there is a climate action plan. Our Environmental Action Committee has developed one, and it's very good. So if you have any questions, Sue is here and can answer any questions for you. In regard to the bus routes, so I texted a friend of mine who's on the Metro Board of Directors, and he mentioned that there were public hearings last night, as the young lady mentioned, in New Carrollton, and there's one tomorrow night in WMATA. The county executive and the county council have written letters in opposition of terminating this and 5 other Prince George's County routes. And also, I was just asking the mayor, and we'll talk to the council further, if we could put together a joint letter to WMATA in opposition of closing those routes as well.
Just 1 second. I missed a text that was sent in earlier. The question is, what will be constructed on the large parcel of land across from Wawa on 301 South? The short answer is that's the South Lake development that's been referred to a few times tonight. Anybody want to weigh in on that one?
Am I on? Okay, thank you. On March 3rd, we're voting. Can you hear me? No? Okay. March 3rd, we're voting on South Lake. Is there a feedback? Okay. To be frank, what's going on here is that we're in an annexation agreement that is going to be hard to get out of. One that the last council, not you two, one that the last council put together. And to be more frank, since I think you guys need to know this as we are voting on this on March 3rd, if we vote no on this and it slows down growth of the project, the city's at liability. That's a lot of money on the table. So it's going to be a hard vote for us to take. The reality is that South Lake is coming, as you guys can see already. But on March 3rd, we will be voting for this project. So South Lake is a mixed-use community that's going to have a residential component. I think it has some condos, some actual single family houses, as well as a plethora of retail options as well. And this is north of 301, or south of 301, right across from the Wawa. So as you're going to 301 and 214, you'll see it right there. It's a massive project that they've been working on for a while, formerly called Carrington for anyone who's been around for a long time.
And it will contain a grocery store as well as some, what they're sharing with us, some higher end restaurants and some retail as well.
Used to be. The last council, again, the last council annexed it into the city. Yeah. I'm sorry, March 2nd. Thank you.
Old Stage, and I was wondering if the council would consider a proactive trap, neuter, return program in the city of Bowie. Basically what that is there's a number of people that feed feral cats, and some of them can't afford to spay or neuter them. And right now we do have a program where people can get microchips through our animal control. And if they couldn't afford that, then, because normally it costs about $60 to do that, if we had a program for people that couldn't afford it, That would keep the population from going. And even, there are people that like cats, don't like cats, indifferent to cats, but I think we could all agree that having increasing populations causes a problem in the city. For example, on Woodrow Lane, I was involved in trapping 20 cats that somebody moved out of their house, they sold the house, the new people moved in, they had 20 cats expecting food. And to pay for this, we had fundraisers on like Facebook and stuff like that, but it's very expensive to do. Many people do trap, neuter, return, and they can afford to pay for it, but there are residents that can't. And the 20 cats that we were able to spay and neuter, right now they're getting, the season for them to start their first heats is now. And so if 10 had 5, you could just do the math. By the time it comes around for the second heat later in the summer, I mean, you'd have over 100 cats. So this might be a good thing for people. I mean, 1 or 2 cats everybody's happy about, but if you had 30 in your yard, you might be upset. And to keep a green Bowie, and I think if we had something like that administered through the Bowie Animal Control, maybe a voucher system with the places that do trap, neuter, return, well, they'll do the space and neuters. That might be a good thing for the city.
Thank you, sir. So we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour, so we're going to wrap up now. Again, if you did not get your say tonight, if you want to email publicinfo@cityofbowie.org. Those comments are being forwarded to the council members and to the city manager as well. And you can view the video of this meeting on www.cityofbowie.org. And I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Mayor, would you like to close this out?
Just really quickly again, thank you all for coming out. If you look around, you see the wonderful city we have, the diversity we have, the people who are willing to come out, voice their opinions, give us their ideas, and try to keep Bowie moving forward and keep it the wonderful place that we all love. So one of the things I always try to close out with is I want to make sure that we recognize that we're one city. That, we may have districts for representation, but when it comes to us really making a change, we have to all work together. So on that note, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. And as I always say, remember, we're one city, we're one Bowie. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.